So I think it's really valuable for people who are leading schools or groups of schools, multi-academy trusts, to think about the benefits of having multiple staff on MPQs. The first is that those people are developing a shared knowledge and understanding and a shared language for talking about that knowledge that allows them to collaborate and work together much more effectively. You can combine the leadership breadth of understanding offered by our leadership MPQs with the depth of understanding offered by specialist MPQs across teams, so that you are building expertise at an organisational level, not just an individual level, which is going to strengthen the institutional knowledge of your school, your trust, whatever it is that you're looking to lead. A particular benefit is a shared understanding of effective implementation at all levels of leadership. We know that there are lots of good ideas in education. There are lots of good things you could do, but we know that where the rubber meets the road, where you really find success, is in how effectively you implement those evidence-informed approaches. So rather than having one person try to drive that implementation, when leaders at all levels share an understanding of what effective implementation looks like, that is incredibly powerful. So having leaders, either multiple people studying the same MPQ or multiple people studying a range of MPQs, is really powerful as a kind of a catalyst for effective implementation across your school or trust. I think another massive benefit of having multiple staff on MPQs is an investment in that talent pipeline and that kind of succession planning for effective head teachers or leaders of multi-academy trusts, leaders at all levels, is really, really important, so that people have the opportunity to progress by building up that institutional knowledge and creating that kind of pipeline of future leaders with that shared knowledge and understanding that stems from the MPQs. You're putting your school or trust in a position where if a leader steps up, moves on, is seconded somewhere else, which when recruitment and retention of staff is challenging, is a really powerful position to be in the sector at the moment. I think the last thing to say on this is that the MPQ forms part of the Golden Thread, which also includes ITT and ECT programs. And the idea of that thread is that the knowledge all the way from ITT through ECT onto the MPQ suite is connected, so that if you have ITTs in your school, if you have ECTs in your school who are studying our programs, that shared knowledge and language and understanding that I've spoken about on the MPQ suite is also being embedded at the classroom teacher level from very early on, which means again that implementation piece becomes so much easier because you're working with people who have a grounding in the same knowledge and ideas as are on the MPQs. A couple of examples of how this might work. So you could think about multiple leaders at a similar level studying the same MPQ. So for example, a school might have all of their curriculum leaders, so department heads or phase leaders in a primary school, doing the National Professional Qualification for leading teaching, the MPQLT, and then coming together to share their learning from that, share how they're implementing it in their area of responsibility, collaborate and learn from each other, so that the learning from that program was being amplified and activated by the collaboration and the coming together that those leaders are able to do, which instantly helps them to contextualize it more easily. One big thing that makes the MPQs even more powerful is the ability of leaders to contextualize them and make them relevant for their own context. And that's much, much easier to do collaboratively with somebody else, because you can kind of have that discussion and with someone who understands your context. Then you might look at the example of multiple leaders at different levels studying different MPQs. So if we take the example of a senior leadership team in a school, you might have a number of staff who are new to senior leadership. So you've got 2 staff who are new to senior leadership that year studying MPQSL to make that step up from middle to senior leadership and really kind of think about how to lead across the school for the first time. You might have an experienced deputy head who's preparing for their first headship role, doing MPQH. And at the same time, you might have a senior leader looking at our National Professional Qualification for Senkos, the MPQ Senko, in order to think hard about how the school can become more inclusive and the offer for pupils with SEND can become even more powerful and high quality. And then yet more staff on that team might be looking at specialist MPQs. So let's say the school has a particular development area in the next sort of 2 to 5 years around literacy. Let's have an assistant head for teaching and learning on that team who's doing the MPQLL, the National Professional Qualification for Leading Literacy, and is able to feed the learning into that team to develop literacy across the school. But when they're feeding it in, since other people on that team are also studying MPQs, and since those MPQs are underpinned by that shared language, that shared knowledge and understanding, they're not having to do that first part of the knowledge building because that knowledge is already held and shared across the SLT, across the senior leadership team. Rather, they are stepping into a team that already understands effective implementation, building effective school culture, the mechanisms of effective professional development, and feeding in that specialist literacy knowledge, which can enable that to be even more powerful at a whole school level.